So, the Nanite Systems operatives, or the fourth faction of Planetside 2, have never really been a complete faction in the first place. That is all slated to change with the upcoming NSO Overhaul that is set to release later this year. And based on some of the stuff that's been data mined lately, we have some pretty interesting stuff to talk about here today. So, g'day there once again viewers, this is your mate Kamikaze78 here, and lately guys, I've been playing a lot of NSO. So let's prepare ourselves further by having a chat about what might be coming in this upcoming update. There is absolutely no denying that I've always considered the NSO to be a great concept, but kind of an afterthought as far as the execution was concerned, you know? Like, the idea of having this more solo-orientated faction that solo players could enjoy to balance out continent population levels was a great idea, except for the fact that you could only use Nanite Systems gear, which meant that you were essentially paying to gimp yourself with a half-baked faction that had access to barely anything. And we've already discussed all those issues in a video we did last year, and I still can't be mad at the developers for trying because, well, at the time the NSO came out, you know, you could count the size of the dev team on one hand. We aren't here to rehash old gripes. Today, I want to point our attention towards a certain Reddit post that cropped up about a month ago, courtesy of Heine2012. I apologize if I got your name wrong, which is all, while incredibly speculative at the moment, could very well hint at the sheer scope of this update. And spoiler alert, if this is anything to go by, it's a much bigger update than I initially anticipated it would be in the first place. Before we go any further though, I need to clarify one more time that none of what we discuss here from this Reddit thread is confirmed in any way, shape or form by the developers. This is a data mine that some players did after the containment site was added to the public test server. And being honest, we have no idea if any of this stuff is coming to the game. There's been a lot of stuff added to the public test server before that has been vaulted for never to be seen again. I can only hope, but, you know, what harm is there in at least talking about the possibility until we know more, right? Right? Alright, with my conscience cleared, onto the post. We start off with some talk of a brand new ESF for the NSO operatives, currently called the NS Dervish, which is a two-seater heavy fighter. And you heard me right, a two-seater ESF. The alleged seat layout currently has the pilot with some light forward-facing weaponry, with a secondary gunner operating a top-mounted turret that is capable of warding off enemy air vehicles and applying additional pressure to attack targets. And I figured that I'd just say this now, is anyone getting some major Star Wars Y-Wing vibes at all? No? Just me? Alright, I'll see my nerdy ass out. But in all seriousness, I really like the sound of the attack craft, and it sounds like it's going to be incredibly unique to play with. Now, part of me originally wondered if an aircraft of this design would have VTOL capabilities like the other ESFs in the game, but the game as a whole is built with VTOL and hover abilities in mind for aircraft, so I can't imagine the developers straying too far away from the core design per se of flying. It makes me wonder though if this aircraft is going to be competitive against other ESFs with only one user, or whether you need both seats operated to have a fighting chance in a dogfight. Hell, I even wonder if this design is more designed around ground harassment. You know, only time will tell. The data mine also found some listings for weaponry available to the aircraft, with those being the Dervish default nose cannon, the Dervish heavy nose cannon, the Dervish top turret, Dervish default turret cannon, and Dervish micro rockets. Now, admittingly, who knows what exactly these weapons are going to look and operate like? You know, these titles are pretty vague at best. And admittingly, there's not really a whole lot to work with here, but I did want to start off the video by discussing the Dervish for a good reason, because the more observant of you Planetmans will have noticed that one of the billboards, one of the news bulletin billboards in the Sanctuary reports of a strange aircraft flying around, with the Nanite's news network dubbing it a UFO. And yeah, it features a very blurry image of an aircraft that we simply haven't used before in-game. Some have speculated that this could very well be the Dervish in action, which kinda adds a bit of legitimacy to this whole data mine and suggests that while not all of its findings may come to the game, at least in the initial update for the NSO Overhaul, some of it may very well be legit, and some of the stuff that we discuss here could, you know, be something worth taking to the races. And if there is some legitimacy to all this, well then, yeah, the next segment of this here data mine makes me a little too excited for my own good. Below the information regarding the Dervish is a collection of descriptions for upcoming NSO weaponry, and yeah, all I can see here is that we've got 3 new introductions to each major primary weapon category with the exception of sniper rifles and scout rifles, as well as 3 introductions to pistols and rocket launcher weapon groups. We'll start off with carbines here first. NSO Carbine 01 description, its default weapon, stable, balanced, middle of the road, NSO use only. And I'd like to make a quick point here, because on first reading I thought, a default weapon that is stable, balanced, middle of the road style sounds to me like an NS11C. So I thought that this list could very well include some of the already deployed weapons at this stage, just as filler for the NSOs. But the key part of the description we all need to consider here, and something that I double checked on later, is the NSO use only clause. All NS weapons that we have in the game currently can be used by all factions. So with these files specifying that these weapons can only be used by NS operatives, it suggests that everything in this list that we go over is brand spanking new. Just something worth, focusing on here. Anyway, NSO Carbine 02 is a high rate of fire, high mobility carbine with, again, NSO use only. Everything that we discuss in this list is NSO use only, so we'll just leave that part out. NSO Carbine 03 is a low rate of fire, high damage, accurate carbine. We move on to the LMGs next. Nso Lmg02 is stated to be the default weapon with a stable, fast rate of fire, moderate damage, moderate magazine size. Nso Lmg02 description states that it's a mid to high damage LMG that's got stable recoil, long reloads, and a moderate magazine size. Finally, Nso Lmg03 features a harder hitting profile, slow firing rate, with a modest magazine size and a fast reload time, so more of a hit and run style LMG based on what we can see here. As far as assault rifles are concerned, the Assault Rifle 01 is the default weapon, stable, balanced, middle of the road, similar to the Carbine. NSO Assault Rifle 02 is a mid-range damage weapon with a moderate rate of fire. No further details. NSO Assault Rifle 03 is a 3-round burst, hard-hitting weapon. Could very well just be a Saber 13 with a 3-round burst as opposed to a 2 with some additional adjustments made. SMGs, things get a bit interesting. NSO SMG01 is a low damage, high rate of fire, large magazine weapon, with SMG02 being listed as a low to mid damage, relatively high rate of fire, low magazine size. So I'm thinking Blitz GD10 and AF4 Cyclone sort of designs, more of a crowd control versus a hit and run style SMG. But then we have the last SMG for the NSOs here, which is listed as being a moderate damage weapon with a 3-round burst and is accurate. Not gonna lie, bit of a strange design that we have here, but considering that we've had a lot of strange NS SMGs lately, this doesn't exactly surprise me at all. As far as our shotguns are concerned, these are pretty run-of-the-mill. NSO Shotgun 01 is a default weapon with a high-capacity shotgun, NS Shotgun 02 is automatic, and NS Shotgun 03 is, as you guessed, pump action. So basically one of each category that the other factions have, and I guess the Baron is set to be the accurate shotgun per se that the NSOs have access to. As we said before, NSO pistols are seeing some love here, with Pistol 01 being the default weapon, featuring a stable platform, moderate damage profile, good range. I'm imagining sort of a Rebel, or maybe even a mag shot equivalent from the NC, something like that. NSO Pistol 02 is listed as a high magazine size, low rate of fire weapon with moderate damage. And then NSO Pistol 03, small magazine, high damage, low rate of fire. So couple of interesting mixes of traits there. We'll see what that ends up being like. And then we have some launchers, and these are pretty simple. There's essentially a standard dumbfire rocket launcher, a ground-to-ground lock-on launcher, and a ground-to-air lock-on launcher with dumbfire capabilities. Pretty stock standard stuff. All the other factions have their own take on these as well. I imagine these are probably going to be statistically identical as well. So again, it would make sense for the NSO to get these styles of launchers as well. And I'll tell you what, if any of this actually ends up being true, you and I both know that I easily have at least 2 months worth of content here in weapon reviews alone. I'll be one busy boy, that's for sure. But across the board here, it sounds like these weapons are being crafted for these categories to sort of fill the voids in the NSO weapons selection currently, which is a great step towards making the faction feel a little bit more like a legitimate faction, a bit more complete. I mean, hell, right now in the LMG category for the NSOs, there's 2 weapons available, and while they do differ a decent amount, it still leaves a lot to be desired, so I'm really hopeful. There's obviously a lot of talk in these descriptions about high damages and high ends rates of fire, which makes me wonder how much crossover there will be with other key faction traits from the other factions, and whether or not the NS will get their hands on something like a 200 damage LMG or a 900 plus round per minute carbine. It'll be interesting to see what the developers actually come up with here as far as unique weapon balance for these NS weaponry. Now, sadly, there hasn't been any mention or discoveries yet regarding a potential main battle tank, but I feel as though the possibilities here are pretty insane, considering the developers are taking a pretty unique take on the ESF with the Dervish. I can only imagine they'll go for something relatively unique for the MBT equivalent as well. Hell, maybe we'll see that's something that sports more of a tank destroyer role. You know, that'd be cool to see in Planetside too, I think. But that is where this Reddit post leaves us, and quite frankly, I'm sufficiently teased. I am very much looking forward to the NSO Overhaul. I think it's a much needed step for the faction as a whole, and it means the developers can tick this off the list of things that are left half-baked in the game right now. As I said, I really want the developers to start doubling down on the features that they have made and make sure that they, actually go finished and that they can, tick it off the list and move on to something else with full force, like a new player experience update or a new continent. Let me know in the comments section down below, guys, what you think of this Reddit post. Do you think it's total gobbledygook? Do you think there's actually some legitimacy to it? Do you want it to be legitimate? Do you wish it weren't? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, guys, and if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button. It goes a long way to supporting me with the YouTube algorithm and all that good stuff. But you can also use my links in the description down below to get to all my social medias like Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. It'd be great to see you guys all on those platforms there as well. Once again, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Peace out, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Take care, guys. Have a good one.